I was able to hit pan on synergy. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you the finale for my Pan That Palette 2021. And as you might remember, if you've been following along at home, I've been working on my Kat Von D Metal Matte Palette. So it's been a minute or two since my last update, and I'm 99% sure that I've actually hit some pan on some new shadows since then. But before we open this up, I am sad to say that I was not able to reach my main goal of hitting pan on all shadows. However, I was able to meet my, revised goal and hit pan on half of the shadows in this palette. So I am happy with this outcome. But before I show you where this palette is currently sitting, let's go through our palette montage. And this is where we are now. So straight up, you might be able to see some differences down here. But before we go into that, I'm going to do things slightly different this time, and I'm going to go through each shadow. I've got a hair. I'm going to go through each shadow and I'm going to tell you how many times I've used it overall. Then up here somewhere you will see a little bit of information that will tell you how many times I've used it since the last update in comparison to how many times I've used it overall. So first up we have Nebula. And actually, in the 12-month period, I've only used Nebula, can I even speak? I've only used Nebula 6 times. I really do like this shadow, but let me give you a swatch actually. We're going to do things very differently. It is a black-based blue, and it's a very dark blue. So unfortunately, it can actually be quite a hard shadow to style. The same actually goes for which is what I'm wearing on my eyelids today. Because it's not, you need to almost put a really dark, like, crease shade to be able to use these type of shades, but I don't know, like I enjoy my look today, but overall I don't feel like there's too much difference in regards to what's going on here and what's going on here on my lid. But moving on to which I think I'll just give you a swatch of that one as well, considering I've just been talking about it. See, these two are quite dark metal shades. So what I actually used 16 times throughout the last 12 months. Then we have Ignite, which as you can see does have pan. And I've also used this one 16 times. So I must have used Ignite a lot before rolling it into this project, because it definitely is strange to see that I hit pan on this one and not on even though they've been used the same amount of times within this current project. Then we have Tinsel. Tinsel has also got pan on it, and I only actually had to use Tinsel 5 times. This shadow is very chunky. It is a real chunky silver shadow, and it is definitely not overly my favorite. I don't mind it, but it's just so chunky, and it even looks super chunky in the tin. Then we have Glitz, and we've used that one 19 times, followed by Twinkle, which I also only had to use 5 times. However, that was because this product was in my Pan as Pan for Polar actually, which I'll have linked up above here. And I got most of my usage in that project before rolling it into this one. Then we have Volt. I've also only used this one 6 times, which is followed by Synergy. I was able to hit pan on Synergy and I used that one 16 times. And I also hit pan on Flash. And I actually used Flash 24 times. Now moving on to the mats, and I will say, unsurprisingly, the mats are a lot harder to get anywhere near hitting pan and to actually get some visible usage on them. But we'll start here with linen. I use linen 14 times. This is followed by jet, and I only use jet 12 times, which is also followed by velour. Velour is a gorgeous blue, though I did have slight difficulties using this one in some of my looks. And I only used this one 6 times. This is followed by stone, which I've used 13 times, and moss, which I've used 14 times. Ribbon, which is one of my favorite shades. Let me give you a swatch of ribbon, and I'll give you a swatch of silk while I'm at it, because these are some of my favorite shades. Just there. That was a terrible swatch. Seriously. That's the worst swatch. What are we? A makeup channel? Seriously. Ribbon I've used 19 times, and I've actually used silk, which as you can see I've hit pan on. This is a new pan, and I've actually used it 41 times before hitting pan on it. So definitely there was a lot more that I had to use this lot before I was going to be close to hitting pan. Then we have Fringe, which is also a new pan. And this one only took me 27 times to use it. Though I will say that both Fringe and Feather are quite loosely packed. So I do think that if I use Feather a little bit more, I'd be able to hit pan quite quickly on that one too. As I only use Feather 13 times. Then we have Oak, which I hit pan on in 15 times. You might remember that Oak and Velvet were actually in my Pan Those eyeshadows for 2020. So I'll also put that up in the cards in case you're interested. But that's where majority of Oak's usages come from, and that's why I hit pan on it quite quickly. It also took me 41 uses to hit pan on Suede. So that means both Suede and silk took me 41 uses before I hit pan. That is interesting. Then we have Bone, but I've actually used Bone 60 times. I will say the pan in Bone is a little bit bigger, and the dip itself is quite a bit wider compared to some of these other ones, but it took me 60 uses to get that low in it. And last but not least, we have Velvet. And I've used Velvet 22 times in 2021. So though I wasn't able to hit my main goal for the year, which was to hit pan on all shades, I am quite happy with having hit pan on 11 of these shades. And I'm definitely looking forward to putting this palette away for now, though it is still one of my favorites. So that is my Pan That palette for 2021. And over the last couple months, I've done some deep soul searching in regards to Pan That palette. And though I have done a Pan That palette since I started my panning career on Instagram, I have kind of decided I would like to move away from the Pan That palette for 2022. Overall, I find this project to be a bit stressful. I'm not gaining as much usage as other panners do, and I think it's because I overload myself with too many other eyeshadow projects, and I just can't give the love necessary to get through a palette on my Pan That palette. So I was tossing up between doing a Pan That palette and continuing with my Pan Those eyeshadows, and I've actually decided for 2022, I'm going to skip the Pan That palette and just focus on my Pan Those eyeshadows. In saying that, as the year goes on, I may change my mind, but for now, I'm going to change it up a bit and leave the Pan That palette in 2021. But that is all we have for now. I managed to hit 11 pans on my Kat Von D Metal Matte palette, which is 11 pans more than I had in 2020. But until next time, I'm Verity. That was my Pan That Palette 2021 finale, and now to the outro.